and welcome to ILTV's Elections Arena. I'm Aaron Porras, and today in the ring, the 23rd Knesset is officially inducted. But who will be in its ruling coalition government? Joining us to discuss is founder of the Front for the Protection of Democracy, Uri Zaki, and the founder and president of the Jerusalem Washington Center, Gideon Israel. Now, with 40 back-to-back ceremonies consisting of just 3 lawmakers at a time, the Knesset's marathon inauguration is complete, and the 23rd Israeli Knesset is officially sworn in. But the real marathon begins now in negotiations to form a coalition. Well, with the support of the Israel Beitenu party, the Labor Gesher Meretz party, and the majority Arab Joint List, Benny Gantz has been officially tapped by President Reuven Rivlin to be the first to try creating a new government.
הריני לתת בידיך, כפי שעשיתי ברגע זה, את האפשרות להרכיב ממשלה. החוק נותן בידיך, אדוני, 28 ימים, החל ממחר, למלאכת הרכבת הממשלה. זהו זמן קצר, ואולם בנסיבות הנוכחיות של עת חירום לאומית ובינלאומית, גם זה פרק זמן ארוך מדי.
אני נותן לכם את מילתי. אעשה הכל כדי להקים בתוך ימים, ספורים ככל שניתן, ממשלה לאומית פטריוטית ורחבה, ככל שרק יהיה אפשר.
Now, I want to actually start with you, Uri. You're here with us via Skype. Thank you for joining us. Now, who will join Gantz's government? Who will be a part of it? What will it look like? And how effective will it be?
Look, the problem for Gantz to form a coalition is through 2 members of Knesset of his own blue and white party and 1 defector from the Labor Meretz list, Orly Levy, the head of the Gesher party, a party that has only 1 representative, who withdrew from the list and refuses to, I would add, in a racist manner, refuses to support a government that is supported by the Joint List, which is the representative of the Arab minority in Israel, and as well as members of Knesset Hendel and Hauser, 2 of the blue and white faction, Gantz's own party, who again, from racist reasons, are refusing to support.
Well, you're saying racist reasons, but you know, Gantz and Ya'alon and several others within the party, including Hauser and Hendel, have also come out earlier against sitting with the Joint Arab List until it was absolutely necessary because of huge disparities in their policy. Isn't that true?
Well, I believe that those statements were both racist and foolish before the elections. They were racist because they isolate basically the whole Israeli Arab minority, which voted in, they had a very good turnout, and 95% of them supported the Joint List. And it's foolish because many voters who wanted to vote for Gantz thought that he doesn't stand a chance to form any coalition because of these statements that were basically trying to catch up with the incitement coming out of Balfour, of the Netanyahu campaign. I apologize for the baby is crying because it's
that's all
right. My newborn baby is having her diaper replaced here and don't have any other place to talk. I apologize. In any case, it was foolish, but you know, in Judaism we have the term of tshuva, of people who who come back from their sins into a better doing. And I believe that the fact that a party of 4 former chiefs of staff of the Israeli military are now negotiating with the leadership of the Israeli Arab citizens minority, and together, initiating political initiatives. That's a major progress for our society, a major progress for our democracy. Okay. It's a shame that 2 of their own party, of the blue and white party members, as well as the party that I voted for and I'm affiliated with the Labor Meretz party,
okay, well,
are the ones who are.
Well, I want to bring it. Well, so I want to bring it over to Gideon now. You know, I want to get your perspective here because obviously you're coming from the more right conservative position. How do you feel about this possible coalition. Do you feel that the reasons these people on the blue and white list and Orly Levy Abikassis from Gesher don't want to sit with the Arab parties, do you find that racist as well?
Yes, I wanted to actually address that point of racism. I think racism in the classical definition of how it was once upon a time is that because you're of a different skin color, because you're of a different nation, therefore I'm better than you, and I can take advantage of you. I can do negative things to you. I can harm you. And I think that one of the problems today is that the left has taken the definition of racism and expanded it so far that if I legitimately criticize someone, if I have concerns about what someone else says, but they happen to be from a certain group of people or a certain minority, then it's suddenly racist. And I think that's really horrible, and I think that diminishes the suffering that so many and the oppression that so many people have suffered under racist regimes, lynchings, being killed, being oppressed. And what we have in Israel, and especially coming from not only the right wing but also the center, is legitimate concerns about Arab representatives who unfortunately are not really representing the needs, the day-to-day needs of their people, but instead are representing an ideology that does not want to see Israel exist or does not want to see Israel exist as a Jewish state. They are representatives who have praised terrorists. They are representatives who have praised some of Israel's worst enemies. And these are horrible and disgraceful things. So when you see Orly Levy and when you see Hendel and Hauser objecting to sitting with the Arab representatives, it's a legitimate concern. Now, one of the real problems here is that because the right wing, because in terms of right left wing in Israel, we're talking about 60-40. The right wing is the overwhelming majority in Israel. However, the left wing, to get back in power, they tried to create this big tent party called Blue and White that has people from the left, people from the center, and people from the right to pull away right-wing votes from Netanyahu or other right-wing parties. So it's certainly legitimate that Hendel and Hauser, who are well-known right-wing people, would object to this.
All right, so I'm going to turn back to you, Uri. Now, Yair Lapid, the number 2 in the Blue and White Party, he himself is saying that once the coalition is formed with a minority coalition with the Arab Party outside, that's it. They won't need to rely on the Arab parties anymore. So it doesn't seem like he's really trying to include them either. Isn't that true?
Again, I believe, I don't think that the leadership of the Blue and White Party right now are doing the best they can. But, listen to what Gideon just said. It's amazing. He just said it, there is a majority to the right, where there's a majority amongst the Jewish voters. There is no majority to the right in the Knesset. In the Knesset, there are 62 seats that include also 15 seats. 15 seats. That's it's about 18% of the House, which is representing the Arab minority in Israel. When you exclude the Arab minority as having any right to influence the nature of the next government, then it's okay. Then you have a Jewish majority or Jewish. What is this? This is pure racism. In the election campaign, Blue and White compared Mr. Netanyahu to Erdogan. Erdogan, he has this party of the Kurdish minority. What he did, because of similar sentiments, he threw the leadership of the Kurdish minority party into jail. So that maybe is going to be the next step. Listen.
Well, so hold on though, because again, there have been a lot of accusations against members in the Joint List over many years. This isn't a recent or new accusation against members of the Joint List who have supported terrorists or sat with terrorist families. Do you deny that has any merit at all? That no members of the Joint List have ever made some questionable calls?
Obviously, the Joint List, which again represents, unlike what Gideon said, he knows what the needs of the Arab people in Israel are, and they don't know it. 95% of the Arab citizens who voted in the last elections, which is close to 70% of the people who have right to vote amongst the Arab society voted for the joint list. So they probably know.
Yeah, but again, the joint list is comprised of 4 different parties, one of which is Balad, which is considered to be quite extreme.
It's so condescending, and I'm sorry, racist, to say that the people who voted for those representatives don't know what's good for them. What is this? Now, those accusations, some of them maybe have some true roots, others don't. Listen, the fact that the Arab minority in Israel, in a nation state that is constantly in a war with the Arab world, with the same ethnic group, and also occupies for over 50 years their brethren, just 5 minutes away driving under a military control. Of course, these people are not Zionists. How can they be? How can they be? But they are law-abiding citizens. They vote for their representatives, and it's in Israel's democracy best interest to include them as part also of the government, and not to see them as a second-class vote or something like that. That's pure racism. This is against the principles of Zionism from Herzl, Jabotinsky, Ben-Gurion, and everybody that followed.
Right.
This is only under the authoritarian rule of Netanyahu that such words are being heard as an accepted concept.
So Gideon, I'm going to give you just a minute to respond, and then I really kind of want to move on from this topic. Go ahead.
Well, there's so much to unpack, but I think that one of the problems for the Arab voters is that we have a threshold of about 3.25%, which allows for only a few parties, because there's a worry that if you don't have a party that's going to pass the threshold, the votes go to waste. So I believe that if the threshold was lowered, which I believe it should be, to about 1%, you'd have a lot more Arab parties, and you'd have a lot more Arab representatives who will actually represent the day-to-day needs of the Arab citizens.
Do you disagree then with Uri that these people voted for somebody who represents them? I mean, because they did choose the Arab list.
Well, I think in these elections where I think they said we had the fewest parties ever in an election, I think a lot of people did not find a party to actually represent the things that they wanted, and therefore they were forced to. Let me finish. They were forced to compromise and vote for a party that that was there, that was available. So. But again, I must say that to characterize so many Israelis as racists, I just feel is completely diminishing what people have suffered under real racist regimes. But I want to say that
that's exactly why Jews to be the last ones to be racist and to have a much higher standard when it comes to racism.
Well, I don't think that's a higher standard. I think it's just you're not defining the term appropriately. But what it does is, the minute I can characterize someone as racist, then suddenly I have the moral ground, and it's much easier to argue with them. So that's why the left has expanded the definition of racist so much.
All right. Well, let's go on to a more logistical question, because again, regardless of whether or not it's racist to include or not to include the Arab Party for whatever reason that Gantz and the rest of the Blue and White Party have, with the Arab Party outside of the coalition, with a minority coalition, how likely is it that this coalition will fall apart in weeks or months' time? Because it's a very real possibility that a vote of no confidence can be passed against them.
But according to the current Israeli law, you can only replace a government that was sworn in with an alternative government. That means that if, for example, the joint list votes, goes and votes together with the Likud, a scenario that I don't expect to happen so quickly, but let's say that the joint list is joining forces with the Israeli right to vote no confidence to Gantz. They need to then support the alternative government of Netanyahu. It's not the case. Once you have a government...
What about if you have Tzvi Hauser, Yoaz Hendel, and Orly Levy Abacasis and several others who might defect?
The only gap between Gantz becoming a prime minister is his own 2 members of Knesset, Hauser and Hendel. And I should tell our viewers from overseas that in Israel, and especially in the Blue and White Party, the members of Knesset are not elected by a constituency. They are part of a list that was formed by Gantz himself. they're not personally elected. They were put there by Gantz. The fact that they're doing this is a huge breach of trust out of their on their behalf. I know that the right wing is now hailing them. It will be the equivalent of folks in the Likud who would now say, you know, we don't want to vote confidence for Netanyahu. Nobody does that because in the Likud they fear their leader. Maybe a fear of leadership is what's needed here.
I would disagree. In the Likud, they don't need to put left-wing MKs to get votes because the Likud knows and the right wing knows that they are the majority of the country. Now, no, one sec, Ori. I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you. Let me finish. Let me finish. So what I'm saying, when Uri said to the viewers overseas that Gantz put them there, blue and white, it's important to know, it's a combination of three parties. Yesh Atid, which is sort of the left flank of the party. Chosen L'Israel, Israel Resilience, which is, let's say, the center. That's Gantz's party. And Telem, which was Boogie Yalon's party, which was actually meant to be a center-right party. So these three parties combined together to be blue and white, a Big Ten party. Hauser and Hendel are just sticking to their principles. So I don't understand how it could be a breach of trust unless you say that there's the person at the top and he decides for everybody else. Isn't that what the left said about Netanyahu, Erdogan?
Yes, they were put there by Bogi Ya'alon and then by Gantz. That's the whole thing. And Bogi Ya'alon himself does want the main, and I agree with Gideon with one thing. Blue and white doesn't have an ideology. It's not a ideological party at all. It's a party that comes with only one raison d'etre. The only reason that people voted for them instead of, for instance, Labor and Meretz, which are much more ideological, is to replace Netanyahu as the prime minister. That's their main theme. That's what they were for, and that's where most of their support comes from. You know, today I just saw a public opinion poll that was done with the voters of blue and white. Before the elections, 62% of them supported the Gantz government supported by the joint list. Now, after all this incitement and Hauser and Hendel and all that, 77% of the blue and white voters does support Gantz government supported by the joint list. Why? Because they want Netanyahu out. Hendel and Hauser are doing so. They are breaching the confidence of their own constituency. And again, they don't have any personal constituency. This is a role that was given to them by Gantz. Well, and the fact that they're doing so is making the Israeli political arena, together with what Orly Levy, which is even worse, making it into something that you can't count on in any way in any party. I would expect folks from the Likud to be as hostile to this step as we are.
Well, I just say about Orly Levy, I think after she was part of Yisrael Beitenu, then she was her own party, then she was part of Labor, now she's part of Labor, Meretz, Gesher. I think I think you should have been a little suspicious about including her. I mean, someone like I said before, she's done in 2 years what took Tzipi Livni 20 years to do. So I think there should have been some suspicion there. But on the other hand, Gantz put Hauser and Hendel there because they wanted to peel away right-wing votes from Netanyahu. I don't think you can deny that. Would you agree that's why they're there?
You said that.
No, I said that blue and white again doesn't have an ideology. What's the blue and white ideology?
That's what I'm saying. So if you want to be angry at someone,
doesn't have an ideology these days. The Likud's ideology today is Bibi Netanyahu, regardless of left and right. For instance, if 5 years ago I would have told you that a Likud-led government would be supporting Hamas with financial support, or would allow financial support to Hamas, and the official line of the Likud government would be to stick Hamas in power in order to prevent them to prevent a unification between the West Bank and Gaza, you would tell me I'm crazy to support Hamas.
So
but they do so. Netanyahu said so. The only ideology of the Likud is Netanyahu.
I would agree with you that
like authoritarian parties around the world. and the only alternative to Netanyahu is blue and white, and their only ideology is no to Netanyahu. That's it.
I would agree with you that the Likud has almost stopped writing a platform, and it's unfortunate that the elections weren't about ideas, and it's unfortunate that the Likud doesn't put forward more real ideas. But I would also agree with you that it's a big problem that for the last 10 years our government, which has been governed by the right wing, has not won wars. We don't win wars in Gaza. We don't win wars in Lebanon, and we just allow for more cycles and more cycles of war. And I think I would totally agree with you that it's a problem that a right wing government is actually paying off Hamas.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Uri, Gideon, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
That is all the time that we have in Elections Arena.
Stay healthy. That's the most important
Thank you. You stay healthy as well. Congratulations on your newborn, Gideon. You stay healthy as well. Thank you for coming in today. And of course, thanks to all of you for tuning in at home. Also, remember that for more news from ILTV, please follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube and Roku TV pages. I'm Aaron Porras. See you next time.